Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. I'm here today with a super fun granny square triangle video actually. Granny triangle video. So basically it is the same process as the granny squares and the granny square hexagons that we've done previously. So if you want to go and check those videos out before this one, you can. So here are some examples. I've actually made this into bunting, which is why they're attached, but today we're just going to be learning how to create a simple triangle. These are super easy and super simple, and I'll go through them step by step for you so that even absolute beginners can learn how to create these triangles. So go ahead, I've got some DK weight yarn here. You can use any weight, any yarn that you prefer. I've got a 4mm corresponding hook and a pair of scissors to chop off my ends, and we can begin. So go ahead and grab your materials and I'll meet you back when you've done that. Okay then, so we're going to begin like always, or most of the time, by making a slip knot. So you can do this in any which way that you prefer. If you are an absolute beginner, go and check out my beginner videos. I do have a video on how to make a slip knot already. And insert your hook, like usual. So we're going to begin with a chain 4, which is going to start us off. So 2, 3, and 4, and then we're going to slip stitch into the first stitch that we created, just to make a nice simple loop that we're going to work into. So you can see now that I have a loop from where my 4 chains have created, and now we can begin working into that loop. So do a chain of 3, which is going to count as your first treble crochet, and you're going to work into this loop another 2 trebles. So work 1 and work a second one, and your chain 3 will count as your third treble. Now we're going to chain 3 because we're at a corner, and working into this exact same loop we're going to work another 3 treble crochets. Whilst doing granny squares or granny triangles or any granny shape, we usually work in chunks of 3 trebles and 3 chains to create our corners. Now we're on the second corner, so chain 3 and work another 3 treble crochets into this exact same loop that you've previously worked into. And now to finish off your triangle you need one last corner, so chain 3 and slip stitch into the top of this chain 3 to complete your round. Now you have round 1 of your granny square. You work to chain 3, another 2 trebles, a chain of 3, 3 trebles, a chain of 3, 3 trebles, and a chain of 3 to complete your first round. Now we're working on round 2. Okay then, so to begin round 2 and any other round, we actually need to do a few slip stitches just to jump over to this gap here. So all you're going to do in the next top of the next 2 trebles is just work 2 slip stitches, 1, 2, and 1 final slip stitch into this chain 3 space right here. And that just neatly jumps your crochet stitches over into this top corner so we can begin working into this one. Now we're going to begin this round with another chain 3, which is going to count as our treble crochet, working another 2 trebles to count as your 3 treble crochets, a chain of 3 because we're at a corner, and into this exact same loop we're going to work another 3 trebles. So 1, 2, and 3. Now then, we need to jump over into this gap here, and to do that we're going to work a chain of 2 to skip this block of 3 trebles and to jump over to this one and to create our loop. So chain 2, this is different to granny squares because in granny squares we only chain 1, but in granny triangles you need to chain 2 to jump over to the next gap. Now into this corner gap here we're going to work 3 trebles, 1, 2 and 3. We're at a corner so we need to chain 3, 2, 3. And working into this exact same loop, we're going to work another 3 trebles. Now then, we need to jump the gap just like normal by chaining 2. Then into this top gap, work 3 trebles, a chain of 3, and another 3 trebles into that exact same loop. Now to complete your round, a chain of 2 and slip stitch into the top of the very beginning chain 3 that we did. So now you've completed your round 2. Now knowing what you know, you work in chunks of 3 trebles. When you reach a corner, which is 1, 2, 3, you're going to work 3 treble crochets. And when you reach another block of 3 treble crochets, you're going to work 2 chains to skip that gap and jump over to the gap. So I'll do another round for you, which will be our round 3. So to start this round we need to begin by doing 3 slip stitches just like our previous round to jump over to this gap here. So in the top of this treble, slip stitch, the top of the next treble, work another slip stitch, and into the chain 3 space work one last slip stitch. Now you're going to begin like always with a chain of 3. You're going to work another 2 trebles into this gap. We are at a corner, so we chain 3 and then we work another 3 trebles into the exact same gap. So now then, we're not at a corner, but we do have a chunk of 3 trebles. So to skip that chunk and work into the next gap, we need to perform a chain of 2. And now we can work 3 trebles into this gap right here. So 1, 2 and 3. And because we're not at a corner and it's just a gap in the middle, we just leave that now and work only 3 trebles. Now we're going to chain 2 and into this corner work 3 trebles, a chain of 3 and another 3 trebles. Chain 2 to skip the chunk, working into this gap, 3 trebles, a chain of 2, working into the corner, 3 trebles, a chain of 3 and another 3 trebles. Chain 2 and into this final gap work 3 treble crochets. With granny square rounds you can make them as small as you like, chain 2 and slip stitch into the top of the chain 3. You can make them as small and as large as you like. In this video I'm just going to do 4 rounds, so we only need to do 1 more round, and that's about the average size of a usual granny square, but you can continue doing the round or leave it here or even smaller if you would like. So for our last round we're going to begin in the exact same way performing 3 slip stitches, 1, 2 and 1 into the chain 3 space, chain 3 and work another 2 treble crochets, which counts as 3 trebles, then a chain of 3 because we're at a corner, and another 3 trebles into the exact same space because we are at a corner. Chain 2 to jump over this treble crochet gap and work into this next gap here, performing 3 treble crochets in that gap. Chain 2 to skip over to the next gap here, work 3 treble crochets in that gap. Chain of 2 to skip over to the next gap, three trebles, a chain of 3 and 3 trebles. Chain 2, 3 trebles into the next gap, chain 2, 3 trebles into the next gap, chain 2, 3 trebles, a chain of 3 and 3 trebles because we're at a corner. Chain 3 and 3 trebles. Chain 2 to skip and over to the next gap, 3 trebles into that gap, a chain of 2 to skip over into the next gap, 3 trebles, and finally a chain of 2 and a slip stitch into the top of that chain 3. I'm just going to chain 1 and cut my yarn, pulling it nice and tightly through, and there you have your granny square triangle. So I've just shown you 4 rounds of a granny square triangle. I hope you found this video helpful and it didn't go too quick for you. I know I did go through it quite quickly, but it's the same process as the granny square squares. It's just a few bits and bobs that are a little bit different. So I hope you found this video helpful today and you've been able to create some beautiful granny square triangles of your own. As I said, I've actually made them into some bunting, some crocheted bunting, and there will be a picture of that soon on my Instagram if you want to go and check that out. I'm at Hooks, Dot and Needles 1. I post more exclusively there more regularly, so when I'm not on here, I am on there as well. So thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to leave me a like if you enjoyed this video and comment down below any crochet suggestions. I'm actually in summer holidays right now, so I have a little bit more time on my hands, so if you have any crochet or knitting suggestions that you'd like to see, go ahead and leave me those in the comments. Also subscribe to my channel so you never miss a video and you can become part of this little crochet knitting community. Thank you all, and I will see you next week. Keep crafting, keep crocheting, and keep knitting. Bye.